Isn't that funny how the thing that makes you unique can seem like a detriment until you figure out how to turn it around and it's your superpower?
Absolutely. 100%. Today's guest has lived a life that feels straight out of a spy novel. Jacey Harder grew up in a small town in Idaho, went on to attend West Point, served in the military, and quietly built a career rooted in leadership, resilience, and high-stakes decision-making. Along the way, she learned how to operate under pressure, adapt fast, and lead when the rules aren't always clear. Skills you might expect from a spy and from great leaders. In this episode, we talk about the moments that shaped her path, from nearly failing out of West Point to becoming a mentor, mother, and a community builder for the next generation. Her story is a reminder that real leadership isn't flashy, it's showing up, pushing past imposter syndrome, and being willing to flip your perspective with the ninja quickness. So let's dive in. All right, everyone, today's guest, Jacey Harder, is from a small town in northern Idaho. You're a West Point graduate, and you became an executive leader where you've been in rooms both nationally and internationally with some of the greatest military minds. And you've become a powerhouse leader. And what you've done is you've taken basically your heart and data, and you've combined all those things, including Lego solving problem skills, to create change within your community and organizations. And thank you for being your first podcast on the Blue Stiley podcast. Thank you.
Thank you. I like that intro. Let's just revel in that a little bit.
It's the Lego solving is where everybody's going to want this to tie in. We'll talk about that later because that's actually how we met.
Right.
It's interesting because you came from a small town in northern Idaho, and you went to West Point.
Right.
And I know your story, and like getting into West Point is difficult in and of itself. And my personal story is I didn't have aspirations to go to college when I was younger, and then I went all in and I went to UW. And I didn't realize how difficult it was to get into UW. And now I look back, I'm like, oh, what other schools would I have gone to? You didn't really have aspirations to go to West Point.
No.
So what is it that drove you there? And when you got there, did you realize what a blessing it was to actually go to such a prestigious school?
It took a little bit. So I've always said that the biggest determinator of success, material success anyway, is where you came from. And I've heard that before. And in America, you can be anything you want to be. But if your parents don't know how to tell you, if the community that you're in doesn't live that way, you don't have that vision. You've never been told. You don't know that it's a possibility. So I looked up West Point because my family was so excited my uncle was headed to teach there. I believe he's the only one with a 4-year degree in my family at the time. And I looked it up and I saw an admissions button. I said, admissions to what?
How old are you at this point?
Junior in college.
Okay.
So I applied to West Point, applied to Annapolis. The Naval Academy is too late for the Air Force. Sent in volleyball tapes and pursued getting recruited because I knew that would help. And the rest is history. I just followed the steps and literally did it myself.
And you didn't have like a counselor at school that could help show you need these classes, you need these resume builders, because I didn't have that.
Right.
And I didn't know how to ask for that.
Right.
Like, I had no clue. And I just, like you, I just applied and I got in. And then it wasn't until I arrived, I was like, how lucky I was to have gotten in.
I didn't plan on saying this, but my counselor said, why would you want to do that? So all I knew is I wanted to be a success, whatever that meant. I wanted to have my own safety and security. It wasn't about being rich, but pursuing that direction so that I could be independent and not have financial and material concerns in life. And I wasn't so concerned about my social side or my emotional side. It was get that stability, right? The pyramid. Of like needs. So like, let's make sure that this foundation is strong. So I just got the best grades I could get. I got every accolade that I could get in school. I was involved in all the clubs, in the ASB, in band, even though I was horrible. But by gosh, that was on my resume for school. Worked really hard to be good at sports because I was naturally good. And I'm like, this will give me an edge. If I'm academically qualified, this will give me an edge. Maybe I can get recruited somewhere. I thought the only way I was paying for school was to get a scholarship. I had no idea you could get loans. That's how lost I was. And it really just feels like there was a perfect plan here because I couldn't have contrived this. Everything just lined up.
Well, I love that because like you, my parents didn't push college. And once I got to UW, I was paying for college, and luckily I had sold baseball cards enough to be able to pay for school. And the funny thing was as I was doing it, I would see people applying for scholarships, and I thought that I had to be some extravagant like person, or I had to be of some background, or have some like sports accolade or something like that. And I didn't realize how easy it was. It only took putting that paper together, right? And I don't even I can't even imagine what ChatGPT will do for kids now for applying for them, because it did take time, and it hurt, and it took energy, and you had to think about it. But as soon as I started applying for those, I started getting them, and I was like, why didn't I do this earlier? And I didn't do it till my junior or senior year.
Yeah. And what it sounds like you didn't realize is how extravagant you already were. You maybe just didn't have the words for it. And when I was prepping for this, that's something, when I was thinking through what we might talk about, when you're down doing the work, you don't always realize how cool you are.
Okay.
Right? You don't realize what you're achieving until you look back, kind of like the introduction. Oh, yeah, nothing you said was a lie. Okay, that's kind of cool. but you don't go around thinking that or giving yourself those props that you have all this potential.
Okay, let me ask this then, because maybe with your experience and some of the people and the connections that you've made along your life have helped you realize that. But I think a lot of people, especially kids today, and men and women difference, let's say, that you're afraid to put things down on your resume because it might be a little embellished. It might be a lie. It might not really sound like, and you have this, your self-talk, you have this imposter syndrome that you're like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, so I can't write that down. So some people don't. But it's the people that do write it down and believe it that they turn it in, and all of a sudden it is. I mean, that is who you are, and that is like you can rationalize, or it is truth. And I think a lot of people don't believe in themselves enough to be able to put it down on the paper.
I completely agree. I find that women are very much like that. I'm on a Facebook group for West Point women, and they talk about the imposter syndrome and how you have to get past that. I had a good friend, not a West Pointer, very intelligent, very good with her job, mid-level executive in the government, and she was really concerned about whether she should apply for a job. I said, let them tell you no. I said, if they're going to hire a dumb but the 3-letter version, it might as well be you.
Yeah.
like, how would you like it if they hired somebody else and you go, I am way more qualified than them.
Yeah.
You apply for the job. You don't even have to take it if you change your mind later. Apply for it.
So what gave you the confidence to be able to say that to yourself? Because you can, being where you are now, and you can tell your past self that, or you can tell your friends that, and I call it a part of like a confidence team. Like, I have people who believe in me, and they're like, Blue, you need to apply for this. Blue, you need to write this book. Blue, you need to do these things. And that helps push me. But it's also, I believe in myself, and I know where I got that. I got that from martial arts, and I got that from my instructor. So where is it that somewhere along your journey, you realize, like, what's the harm in asking? What's the harm in breaking that barrier of let's say a woman being afraid to ask for that promotion or that job, or maybe I'm not good enough? What gave you the confidence to be able to do that?
Initially, I don't think it was confidence. It was not being afraid to be told no. If I don't push, I'm not going to get where I want to be. I'm going to work very hard and be willing to get slapped. Just not having fear. So that's different than the confidence level of things. Confidence can get overinflated. I'm not sure I have a clear answer on that, but I feel like there's more to it. It's just being willing to charge forward and say yes. Look for those little opportunities, because if you're moving up, you're not going to get here if you don't step here. And you may not know that this step is leading up here. Be willing to say yes. Be willing to go into the unknown. If you can't see this far into your face, in front of your face, but you just sense it's the right direction, it's okay to reach over here and then pull forward. And now you have a new vision of the world and the possibilities.
Well, and if you're not stepping forward, it might not reveal a door that you didn't even know existed.
Exactly.
Right. And you might not have an opportunity, because as you take those steps forward, one of the things that I've found is that the connections that you make can reveal things that you had no idea. And then those people are on my confidence team. They're like, Blue, think about it this way. And it's just like, that's what it sounds like what you did for your friend. And you were like, just apply, because you might look back and say you would have regrets. Right. Not trying would be more regretful and painful than actually trying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
When you were at West Point, you obviously were challenged consistently, mentally and physically. Like, was there a point where you felt like you weren't going to make it through it? Like you wanted to quit?
I never wanted to quit.
Okay.
But I struggled. Absolutely. Academics are not my passion. I love learning. I love research, but classroom academics, it's something I've worked through, and it had to do with childhood coping. Disassociate. I would sit there and say I was dreaming about ponies and kittens, and I would just sit there, and then the class would be over. I go, huh. So when that's how you go to class, it was not on purpose. I tried really hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to get through.
Yeah.
I almost got kicked out for failing history a second time, and my professor, he said, just because you come for additional instruction every night doesn't mean I'm going to pass you. And I looked at him like, can't hurt.
Yeah.
And when I took my final, I needed something like an A-. I turned in the same whatever I always turned in. I still tried, but it was painful. And somehow I passed the class, and I saw him graduation day, and it just came out of my mouth. And we made eye contact, and I said, "Thank you, sir." And as soon as I said it, the accusation was he gave me my grade. And his response, I never forgot it, was, "Don't make me regret it."
Really?
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
He knew what he was doing. And when I got into the military, I did great. My evaluations were top notch. I did really well. School, not so great. And he saw that. And what a blessing that West Point is beyond classic academics. It's a leadership academy.
Well, and having someone believe in you and see your potential,
Right.
even when you don't see it, I think is one of the greatest gifts that your friends and your confidence team can have, or a mentor can have. And I've been blessed of having people around me that have seen that, because I did not expect to get to here, and I didn't get there by not having other people in my life. And having someone always have your side and push you and give you that little nudge has helped me beyond belief. And those little lessons make me more confident, because I believe confidence is a skill that you start to learn.
Right.
And now I look back, I'm like, what's life going to throw at me that I can't solve if I not only associate myself with somebody who maybe has gotten through it, but then also believing in myself? Like, it's just going to take some grind. It's going to take that effort to actually put down on the resume and to do the application process. I cannot stress how difficult it is when you like try to go for a new job, and they're going to interview me, and then there will be a second interview, there might be a third interview, and it's going to suck, but the reward is you get the job in the end.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't get it, but it's the skills that you're learning along the way
Right.
that you can then apply when you apply for a different job, right? And so West Point was teaching you all these things, and you may or may not have been able to pay attention in class as often. And I would have said that in the 80s, if they had diagnosed ADD, or I would have had it, right? And I learned to utilize it or leverage it as a power for myself, because I can get up on stage and the limelight's on me, so I might as well talk.
Right.
But I had to learn how to focus, right?
Might as well say something.
Might as well say something that somebody wants to hear. But I had to learn to focus that,
Right.
and to actually like use it as that superpower for myself to stay focused. But it was difficult, because I would read something over and over and forget what I was reading, or I would go into certain classes and have fun. And the only thing that really I loved doing was karate and judo, and it was like that's what I looked forward to, and school was secondary.
Right.
And yet at our dojo, I was learning those life lessons.
Yep.
And then that's what taught me to look back and say, oh, I was able to do all these things.
Right.
So you graduate, your instructor helped you get along, and you absolutely took off in the military career, because it wasn't just being able to pay attention. So your military career is taking off. Can you get us onto that journey? Like, what is it that you learned that having that chance and that opportunity and somebody believing in you, did that give you like kindling on the fire to be able to take off? Is that once you realize that someone helped you and believed in you and gave you that chance, that it almost inspired you to prove to the world that you could do it even better?
I think that's how I'm wired. That was definitely a catalyst. To this day, I remember that.
Okay.
I've always been like that. I'm kind of stuck on a thought, so I'm going to put it out there. So when you talk about being a little bit maybe neurodivergent, I had somebody describe it like a high-performance sports car. It might be a little bit finicky, but when you can get it tuned in and drive it just right, that thing is going to fly compared to your average car that you can get into it and drive it the way you would expect to want to
Sure.
drive. Does that
Yeah.
so it takes extra work, but at the end you can get a really good product out of it. So it's hopeful for people that are like, my brain doesn't work the way
Yeah.
I want it to.
What was something that you worked on to try to focus? I heard you say that you went in for extra help. And I did the same thing. Like I would go and meet with a teacher. I would sit up front and I would try to pay attention and I would read the chapter before we went in to talk about the chapter. And I would make special time with my teachers and we could go over, or I would have some kind of a tutor that would help me along the ways.
Right.
And so those are things that I tried to do to focus, but it was an uphill battle for me all the time to stay focused in class. Was there something that you learned or you were able to work on that you then applied throughout the rest of your life?
I'm incredibly organized. There's a lot of coping skills that I have just to get through day-to-day life. I set timers when I boil water so I don't forget that it's on the stove.
I'm with you. Okay.
Yeah. So just these little coping mechanisms that at this point in my life, I'd have to really think through a day to recount that. I put things in the same spot. I put them away on the spot. My house stays clean. I don't have visual clutter. Yeah, I lost the thought. I was going to say something else.
Well, just staying on task and something that you've learned along the way that has helped you stay focused and to work through it and actually make it that high performance vehicle.
So what I've also learned is to go for things where I'm best suited. Why would you try to fit yourself in a hole? Why is it that you need to be, like, what are you listening to that says you need to be someplace where you're not performing?
100%.
So when I was an officer in the military and I'm leading and things are coming at you from all different angles, I was really good at that. And they said that at West Point too. You don't have enough time to do the academics that you need to do. You are not given enough time. I think we always carried somewhere 21, 22 credits, 23 credits, if I remember right.
Sure.
Plus everybody has to do sports. I was an intercollegiate volleyball player, and then I moved on to track my junior year. You're really busy and you learn how to cram that in. And so learning other skills and then finding the activities, the jobs, the ways to connect yourself to fit with those skills.
And then you just translated that into professional life.
Absolutely.
After West Point and with your military career.
Right.
Is that something that helped you move along within your career too? Like
Absolutely.
It was like, okay.
Yeah. So when you're in government, one of the things that you do, no matter what your job is you're fighting for resources. So being able to articulate, I'm really great at seeing the big picture.
Okay.
And then everything that matters fits within that picture, and that's really a skill set. But when you're in academic life, you're focusing on this lane or this specific thing
because it's in the book.
Because
like,
it's in the book, and that's what you need to do. But I want to go
graduate.
here, and I want to go here
Yeah.
and here.
Yeah.
This isn't getting sticky for me. I'm not resonating with this. So using that skill set to paint the big picture, to show why things are important, to focus it down on this is the gap within the greater context of things, I was really good at getting resources. So the end of my active duty time, that was 5 years in of active duty, I wrote the lane training strategy for improvised explosive devices, which was the number one killer in theater and where combat operations were happening at the time. And so I wrote the continental United States strategy, which was typically copied by the rest of the Army, the training organizations within globally, and got a big contract for the military and transitioned into being a contractor to help lead that contract. But again, it was that skill set of being able to see the bigger picture. Yes, of course, I learned I used what I learned academically, but the weaknesses there were now my strengths in the professional world. I've seen things more dynamically.
Quick question. Do you think that going to West Point kind of gave you like a not a heads up, but like a bonus? And when people saw you, they were like, when you introduced yourself, they're like, okay, this is a professional person, and it automatically gave you street credibility.
Absolutely.
How did you use that to your advantage to get resources, to get into the right rooms, to work that government contract, or to move up that corporate or that career-wise?
I don't know that I did it overtly, because if you do, people think that's all you've got.
Sure.
So I would lead with my skill set, and so, for example, I went to an improvised explosive device conference in Kuwait, and all the senior leaders, mostly colonels, 06s from the Army's training installations, were there at this meeting, and I got on stage and presented to them, their sergeant majors, really experienced guys, and I think I was maybe 26, and I presented this, and they couldn't believe it. Wait, you're doing? No, it's me.
Yeah.
I have bosses I brief to. They've approved this, but yes, here, and they listened because what I said made sense. And then the West Point
Then
part.
your resume also, right?
Sometimes I wouldn't want people to know when I got in a classroom setting, because you have those mandatory things.
Sure.
Like, don't let me embarrass my alma mater here, because academically, again, application, I'm great. Academics, yeah.
What got you into that? Like, how did you write that about the explosives? It's like, that's not something that I would think about. Like, what drew you to that? What was, when you said you saw a broader picture, is it just something that that resonated with you and was sticky, and you're like, ooh, that's something that interests me and piques gets my juices flowing, and you're like, oh, I kind of want to do that? Or were you given given something and you were like, I wonder if I could make something of this?
Well, I think what's made me and many people successful anywhere where you're at is you get to know your job. Every bit of your job, you get to know all the people that touch that job. So I was in a training organization that has oversight for the continental United States. We realized IEDs, improvised explosive devices, were bad.
Yeah.
And so I started helping my boss, who's incredibly intelligent, and you become indispensable. And when you do a good job, when you work, when you're putting the pieces together, you are just attracted to the leaders that are doing the same kind of work and have the same sort of capacity that you do. So it just grew. And again, that's why I was a captain when I was in the active duty. And quickly, when I went into the contractor side, there were 2 or 3 promotion levels between where I was supposed to come in at and where my boss was at. Because their plans for me were to be oversight of that, which was up here.
So you rang, or you went up the ladder very fast.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what I hear you say is that it's almost like in any skill or any career that we have, you have somebody who gets into that career, and you're excited, and you're like this rookie, and you're like, oh, I want to take on the world, I want to do this. But then you start to work on your skills, you start to see what the tasks are required, and it becomes a work. It becomes a job. And then that's where usually people either stay, or they're like, maybe I'm going to jump ship and go off. And it's the people that are right above that if you can connect with them, that's where all of the impact can be made, and that's where your skill set just takes off.
Right.
And a lot of people get stuck in the mud of the worker bee style versus being the new rookie. And it's like, you coming in as the rookie, it was like you already saw yourself up here, and you just learned how to catapult yourself up there.
Right. When I applied for grad school, one of the things that I said, and I meant it, was I wanted to be an influence at the policy level. When I was on active duty, one of my jobs was being a rear detachment commander. So when the battalion was overseas fighting, I was there to have oversight of the family, to make sure they were taken care of, the liaison, casualty assistance type things, and the soldiers that were too broke or legally in trouble to deploy. And I saw how policy impacted. So soldiers that were getting chaptered out, I'm not trying to talk bad about the Army, but they didn't know when they were going to be done and be free to work.
Yeah.
Very seemingly small detail, but you can't apply for a job when you're like, it could be 4 months, it could be tomorrow.
Or where are you going to live?
Yeah.
Are you going to re-sign your lease of your home? Or what are you going to tell your family members?
Yeah,
100%.
It's a long list. And I said, I could, with a pen stroke, with a couple of the right sentences in the policy letters, I could make an impact on something like this. I love that. How cool is that?
Yeah.
So little, I think of it like you think of a diamond or a prism. If you adjust it just a little bit, the azimuth change out here greatly sways the light that's coming out of it. Is that so?
Yeah.
So by refining your skills and your judgment and your critical thinking, tiny little change can have huge impact further away and for the masses. So that's a visual.
No, I love
Yeah.
that visual. And you're talking about like Kaizen, the Japanese belief. It's like these small little improvements and making these little bitty changes can completely change the outcome, right?
I did Six Sigma too. I get what you're saying.
All right. Well, I did Japan. So I love Toyota trucks.
Yeah.
And so it's like making those little changes really can. And that's what James Clear talks about, Atomic Habits, about making those consistent changes over time are going to have great outcomes.
Love it.
And I love that you're saying that it's like you wanted to be that influencer. And I
Right.
don't mean like an influencer where we're pushing a product online, but it's
Right.
like you wanted to be magnetic enough or become the expert, the skilled person, that the go-to person.
Yep.
Okay, so you had this resume that you didn't always rely on.
Right.
But, did you just utilize your skill and your knowledge and say, I am the powerhouse and I understand that and I believe in myself, and that is where people became magnetic to you so that you became that influencer?
Yes, but not without setbacks.
Yeah.
So powerhouses sometimes have chinks in the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So mine is being a little too direct, a little too intense and focused on what I want to get done. And my super competent boss, incredible, I think I got a little too big for my britches. I don't think I had attitude, but I don't even know where it came from. And that was me being naive at the time.
Mm-hmm.
There started to be some friction there, and she didn't want me there anymore. And so I did not get fired, absolutely did not. But they said, we need to offer you a new job, because she was the customer or part of the customer base. And that's how I got launched to DC. So I was in Atlanta when I had that job.
Okay.
But still incredible and continued to thrive. So she made that decision with the local contract leadership who had not been working with me on this contract. The contract came out of DC. So she went to the guy that didn't know me and that didn't realize my role in all of this, who also didn't consult with his peers, not locally, when he made the decision to say, you should probably get another job. And the leadership in DC was appalled when they found this out.
Okay.
But they set me up. And so that's when I became a coordinator. I believe that was the next job. Coordinator for 4-star meetings. For
in
a specific,
DC.
yes, for a
In DC.
specific organization. Yes.
Okay, so you went from the small town in northern Idaho to all of a sudden it's like you go to West Point.
Yep.
And then you're moving to DC. It's like you're moving up in these giant population cities. Was that a hard transition for
It
you?
was awesome.
It was
The world's your oyster. It was
Okay.
awesome.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, no issues. It was great.
Okay, so you loved it. So you're
Yeah.
in DC and you're meeting with all of these military minds that are some of the greatest alive today.
So cool.
You kind of sound like a spy, Jacey. I kind of want to say that.
I'll take it. You know, when I need to pick me up while I'm doing dishes, I'll think of what you just
Blue
said. Yeah.
thinks that I'm
Yeah.
a spy.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Heidi, she's always like, I wonder if that guy's a spy. When we go to DC or something like
Yeah.
that, we'll be looking around. She's like, I think that guy's a spy.
It's
I
the
go,
most boring ones. You never know.
well, I'll tell her that because we saw this guy in a Subway restaurant. She's like, that guy's a spy. And so I was like, all
Based
right.
on what? I'm
I
curious.
have no
Okay,
clue.
She just has a sense.
She has this.
She
Yeah,
just knows.
she knew. She knew.
Tell her she's right. She'll
Okay,
feel-
I will do that.
Okay.
Well, okay, so you're not a spy, but you could be because you are a baddie.
Doggone
And
it, yeah.
So you're in DC, you're meeting with all these people. Like, what are some of the greatest things that you took out of meeting all of these personalities, all these great minds? Like, were you just like this sponge that was learning left and
so
right?
cool.
And how old were you?
27.
So last year.
I'm 45.
Okay, all right. So
okay.
you're at an age where you're this sponge and you're just taking this on. How awesome
So
was it?
cool. And at that maturity level, I'm the kid.
Mm-hmm.
You can be a little rough around the edges, but when they see that go-getter attitude, I was treated well. There's no threat there. Okay, you little, you kid.
Yeah.
They all knew I didn't, they know I'm 27.
Yeah.
But they saw that spark and it felt good. It's wherever you're at, you're with mentors, people that care about you and want to see you be successful. What is their legacy if they leave and they haven't helped other people?
Oh my God, I love that you just said that because that's one of the things that I don't want. How do you want to be remembered?
Right.
Do you want to be remembered as this mean old cantankerous old dude who's just ornery and like people hate you and that, or do you want to be remembered like you impacted people, you helped people along their career, and you helped people succeed, and you've influenced them, and you've just made a difference in not only to one person but maybe possibly to the world and that impact, and that's obviously what you've found, and that's what you're doing now also, like giving back to the community, but these people, these mentors were filling your sponge with all the greats and all of the mind tricks and all of these spy tactics, and you're growing. You're growing.
Sure.
So, and it's great for you. What are you seeing, or what are you picturing yourself doing after this? Like, you're in this moment, you're 27 years old. Do you have like these goals, these audacious goals that you're like,
Always.
I want to do this?
Always. Can I tell you how cool they are first?
Yes. The goals or the people that
the people. You kind of think like, what's a spy guy like? You know, the classic like tough and rough and like classic superhero. Yeah, they're not necessarily like that. Some of the warmest, most supportive people. Can I just sit in your office and soak in your goodness? They're not mean and hard. Yeah, some of them are. We're all human, but really good people that you see them, you get in their presence. And I had a little sense of that when I first met you too.
I'm not a spy.
No, you're not.
No.
But the sense of this is somebody who you're safe with, and not in a pansy way, but somebody that's going to build you up, somebody who's seen things, that has a wealth of experience and capability. Kind of like, I'm thinking of the poster. I'm getting this mental image of the Marlboro Man with the crow's
lines?
feet,
Yeah.
and like they know how to hook up a trailer because they're a man's man, but kind of like that, but in a professional way.
Yeah.
I was in an apartment that was essentially across the street from the Pentagon, and I heard a car accident, and I looked out the window, and there was this guy. You could just tell. Saw this, pointing this. He stood on the side. He told this person to move here, completely crowd controlled. Saw the police showed up. Of course, it was the same guy that talked to him. I saw his face. It was the 2-star I worked for.
Wow.
Leaders can't help it. He was in civilian clothes.
Yeah.
Leaders can't help it. And it's not a bossy thing. I met unwittingly when I traveled pretty freelance, when I did contract work overseas within the military, special forces guys. They're some of the most unassuming. And it takes, I think, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but somebody who is a leader themselves to recognize that.
Yeah.
The loudmouth that thinks they have to project strength and project leadership is going to miss that guy and that opportunity. So it really helped settle me down and, again, appreciate the depth of that experience.
Well, and I'm assuming that because you were in rooms filled with people like that.
Oh, yeah.
And you were connected with them, that every single person probably gave you one or two or multiple nuggets of takeaways of like how to improve yourself and skills to improve and become a better leader yourself.
Right.
And I think that you mentioned that it's like, you're around these people that might say something to you or do something that you can pick up on and take on. And I told you this, that when I met you, well, you told me that when you met me, you were like, we talk about the resume, right? And like when I introduce you, it's like, oh, those are all true, right? And it's interesting when someone speaks about me or gives me their bio of me before I go on stage, I sit there and I think, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've done all those things. It's kind of crazy. And when you met me, you said that, Blue, it's rare that I meet someone with experiences that surprise me. And I took that to heart, and it motivated me to be like, I have earned that resume.
Yeah.
And I have lived that life, and how awesome would it be to continue sharing that?
Yes.
And so that was my introduction to you, and I give you total kudos and credits for inspiring me in that little sentence that you told me. So thank you for that. And I later told you, when I wanted you to be a guest on the show, is that one of the greatest leaders that I've ever had the opportunity to connect with was Jim Mattis, General Jim Mattis. And he said, Blue is a wonderful name to go through life with. And when he said that, and he wrote it in his book for me, I was like, he's right. Like, how awesome is it that I have this unique name, and it only took someone to make me realize that it's not a weakness. It's not something to look down on. It's like, that's your powerhouse strength. Yep. That's your superpower. And it opened up all of these doors. And that was another military mind that you would think is the meanest critter out there. And he's like, boom. And he was the most kind and amiable person. And so when I was told that, it opened up my heart to believe in myself that little bit more. And
Yeah.
it sounds that's exactly what these people in these rooms did for you.
Yeah. Isn't that funny how the thing that makes you unique can seem like a detriment until you figure out how to turn it around and it's your superpower?
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
And so these people are telling you all these things. You're taking in all of this knowledge. You're this sponge, and you have these goals.
Yeah.
So let's talk about like, what do you want to do after this? Are you seeing yourself, Jacey, after this becomes X? Like, I want to do this.
So my biggest goal continued to be, again, from childhood, was the security
pyramid.
and the safety.
Uh-huh.
So I knew that I could have way more upward mobility if I'd gone corporate. But I also love the culture of the military. It's very much team-oriented. Really, the cutthroat, in my experience, is not there. It's take care of each other and support. Yeah, there's some competition
Sure.
for resources, but it's pretty good. So I had to make that decision, and it was not an easy one to push that over here and say corporate is not the direction that I'm going to go. I'm going to stay government. And even on the military side, you can only get promoted so fast. And it's not until...
And it sounds like your career went pretty fast too. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you were getting promoted faster than, let's
Yeah.
say, somebody else.
And even on the civilian side, I continued to move and get new jobs. New jobs equals promotions,
Sure.
typically, or lateral experiences that combine for promotions. But even in the military side, I feel like you don't really realize that until you get senior, like the 06 colonel level, and you start getting those quick star promotions in the general officer ranks. But for the most part, you're stuck on a time frame. So you can have a really successful career, but those ranks, those tangible promotions that show how senior you are, you can have leadership positions. Yes, that will give you a distinguishment. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can only move so fast. So I had to accept that. And I was like, that's okay. I have the security of the government. I know that sounds so uninspired. but for my core base goals of I don't ever want to not feel secure, financially secure, and I can still make such a big difference. It really is a public service job to be in government.
And is that something that in DC you started to realize, and then you were like, I'm okay with this trajectory? Like,
Right.
And I'm still moving up and I'm making a difference. And the longer you're at it, the more difference and the impact that I can make?
Exactly. And I had to be, it's really, and when I quit working to be a stay-at-home mom, I had to be okay with, there's a way of processing it where, am I giving up?
I would love to know
Yeah.
that. Like, what
Yeah.
is that trend? How hard is it to
So
change
hard.
your identity? Because
So
you've
hard.
spent so much time at that time. How old are you when you decided to make that transition?
Gosh, I think 37.
Okay.
My oldest was a year old. It was hard. I used to say I could hear a toilet flushing because that was my resume
I love
when
that.
I thought about quitting.
Yeah.
And then we had a nanny that I wasn't in love with. And I thought, who's going to do a better job, right? Is that not an obvious statement? But also, in addition to that, all the things that were on my resume, which I used to build for the security, the safety, to know that I can always get another job besides networking and just my own skills. I needed it on paper to prove that I'm worthy in my head.
Yeah, 100%.
And I was like, it's not about the resume, which does not translate to being a mom. It's about the life lessons and the things that I really want to give to my kids.
Yeah.
I can multiply that. I have 3 of them now. And people that know me coming in and out, I can make a one-time difference, or somebody that works with / for me. I can make a difference for a while and they'll remember some things. But those kids are a piece of me,
Yeah.
right? We all know that as parents. But I didn't really know that pre-kids.
Yeah.
It wasn't like my dream was to have kids. I love them. I wanted kids. but I'd always been professionally focused. And when I kind of figured that out, it really helped me. Still, I was in uncontrollable, like I would just start welling up because it was like ripping a piece of me out to quit. And that takes a lot of strength. And
Yes.
looking back, I will congratulate myself for that because not everybody would do it. I could have, and I also saw the trajectory. I was a workaholic. Up until the day I gave birth with the first one, I was working 14, 16-hour days. Just can't help myself. I wouldn't leave until all the emails were out of my inbox.
Right.
I was always available. Anybody that needed to talk to me, and I did a great job,
Yeah.
but to what expense? And so if I had continued to be a mom, they wouldn't have gotten what they needed from me.
Sure.
I even sort of transitioning thoughts of, I had to detox once I quit, moving on, detox from work. I would find even while I was still working, I'd go on vacation and feel melancholy.
Yeah.
Because it's such a sedative to be immersed in work and not self-reflection.
It's really difficult to and I think that those minor, what's worked for me is the little mini escapes, like even watching a movie, right? Or going on, I love being back in Spokane. I can reminisce with my childhood best friends. And it's like, even if I get an hour with them and we can talk about what it was like in high school and junior high, or getting our license, or going to Wild Waves or Splashdown or something like that in Spokane. It's just like it really does refill or recharge my battery to where I can escape from that. But that was a difficult transition, like going from, because like you, if I'm not working and I'm not filling my pipeline, I'm not filling my CRM, I feel almost like guilty that I'm not doing my job.
What's CRM?
Like, it's basically what I take is it's for all of my customers, like for clients, and I feel like an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
But it just reminds me of being responsible and reaching out to different, and most speakers.
Okay.
A lot of companies utilize the CRM system, but it's like I just make sure that I pack those in, and then I know that I've contacted this person on this date, and then I need to follow up on this date, and then follow up. And so if keeping track of all that in our mind is really hard.
Right.
And so if I'm not filling that and I'm not doing my due diligence, then filling that pipeline, then I start to fall behind and I feel guilty. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to do that. So it moving away from that and taking that small break has really helped me. And then being a dad, like when I go and we're playing at the park or something like that, to be able to play with them and not have your phone out and play chase or tag, which is hard now. It just, that refills me too. But I look around at the other parents and they can't let their emails go. They can't get off the phone. They can't get off the phone when they're in the car at pickup. It's like I go to pick them up and I see all the parents on their phones and are on work, and it's like their kids have to come to them, and it's like, get out of the car and go. Like the greatest feeling. I met a lady at our at Hayden's elementary school, and her child ran out to her and gave her this giant hug. And I remember looking at this parent and this child, and I'm like, man, I want my kid to do that so bad.
Yeah.
And it was a minute later that Hayden ran to me and gave me a hug. I was like, yes,
when?
It was like the greatest reward ever. And then I went up to that mom and I wanted to let you know, I was a little jealous and a little envious, because that is the kind of relationship that I want to have with my kid. But I'm not going to have that if I'm on my phone and I'm missing out. And so when she did that, it filled my reward bucket. And I was just like, oh, and my wife and I experienced that with our kids. And it's just, that is awesome. But being a parent is a full-time job too.
It is.
It is 100%. And so you had to let go, and it felt like this tear. And it was probably terrifying, because not only financially, right? But at the same time, it's like you're going through this identity crisis. How did you make it through that?
Well, I just did it, which is another big takeaway in life, is when you know it's the right thing, you just do it.
Yeah.
You don't wait till you feel like you do it.
There's no great time to do it.
Sometimes, but yes.
Okay.
If you know that you need to do something, you do it.
Okay.
And it was hard, and I didn't want to do it, but I knew I needed to do it. It took a lot of detox, and I was working so much that I didn't have the skill set that you're talking about to be able to navigate both sides of that. I just hadn't developed that interpersonal, social, the appreciation. I remember a comment came out of my mouth of, I didn't know I liked people till I quit working. I got along with people. I appreciated them. I learned, but it was very much a transactional moving
not
forward.
Relational.
Not relation just for the sake of relation.
Yeah.
I remember I first dropped off, I probably had been out of work, not working for like 4 or 5 months. And I dropped off my kid at a mom's group at childcare. And the lady was so sweet to me that it was hitting a part, kind of like the Grinch when his heart explodes.
Right.
And kind of the pain of that sweetness, because it was not something I was accustomed to. My eyes started welling up, and she goes, oh, it's okay. You don't have to leave them. You can take them with you if you need to. I'm like, yeah, we'll pretend that that's what's happening right now. Oh. I don't have time to unpack this. I like kind of lost it more because she was extra nice.
Yeah.
And to live in that world and feed back into it is kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's good for my soul, and it's good for my kids and my husband and just the entire environment at our house. So that's a skill set. I can take all these corporate-y leadership things and turn it into to love corporate.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and something that you can share with your family, right? And then with your friends that you meet and the connections that you make. And I love that you had mentioned, like, you just meet someone who's naturally kind.
Yeah.
And it's like the feeling of being welcomed, or like there's no MO involved. It's not, there's no transaction. It's just like, let's make life a little better and a little easier for this person that I'm connecting with, right? Or that I'm having this conversation. And was that, okay, so you come back from DC and you actually moved to Spokane, right?
Right. Moved to the Seattle area.
The Seattle area. And so you're transitioning into Seattle and now you're back in Spokane.
Right.
How hard was that community? Like, have you found your new identity and you feel great? And like, what is that overall feeling now of like, I am an amazing mom. I'm a great leader. I have all of these skill sets that I've learned, and now I can share those things with other people. Like, do you feel like your foundation is set? Like, are you in a good place?
I'm in a good place for now. There's another chapter to be written.
Are you writing a book?
No, I am not.
Is it the sum of 5?
No. There's another page to turn, and I don't know what's written on it yet, but I feel it.
Okay.
It's there. This isn't the end.
Okay, but and it shouldn't be the end.
No.
Because like after your kids are grown and out of the house, that's a whole different chapter,
even in school.
right? Or
I have
even
2
in
preschoolers.
School. So it's like our life is consistently changing. And it's what those lessons and habits that we learn along the way is what makes us greater. And I love when kids think that they have everything figured out. Oh, at 20, I'm going to be this. I'm like, you just wait till you're 30 or until you're 40, right? And at 50, it's just like, we have these transitions. And so you have not written the next chapter or the following chapter,
right?
But you're content now.
Yes, absolutely.
And you're making a difference in our community.
Right.
And one of those things that you did is so you have all these skill sets and I want to start a Lego building class. And it's like, you and I got connected because one of our common connections, Kyla, she was like, do you know anybody who could help with this Lego building system out of the school? And I was like, well, yeah, actually, my buddy Mike Siegel with ICCU might help sponsor that. And so he did that, and it brought us together.
Right.
And I've seen what the kids and some of my great friends' parents, their parents and their kids are in the Lego system that you're putting on at the school system.
Right.
And they're having so much fun.
Good.
And I love it because it's not just like, I'm going to build this Lego, but it's like Legos with sounds and electronics and robotics. And it's like, can you dive into like how fun is that to be able to create something and bring it to our community and then to see it actually explode?
Ridiculously cool. So it was Alicia Alsacker, the principal at Liberty Creek Elementary, asked me to do it. I know I was not the first one.
I cannot think of anybody better to bring on than you.
Well, thank you.
And Alicia's awesome, by the way.
She is what a privilege. I was so excited and so blessed. I said, I can do what I want. I can give me my left and right limits because I don't think you know who you're talking to here. I'm coming out of the gate fast and hot. And
she obviously didn't know your resume and that you were a spy.
I don't think she did.
Okay, fair enough.
No, the spy. No, not the spy part. Nobody knows that. So we went up to each other kind of on. I really push hard, and she's like, and I really want somebody to take the lead. And we just kept going until our eyes got bigger and bigger. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
She's so cool. She just has the joy and the happiness and the professional organization that she puts over the whole school. You can just feel her presence. I can't even, the superintendent will come with her, or her leadership, CVSD school board people will come to Lego events, and I try to put her in words, and I get tongue-tied.
Oh.
She has such a soft but powerful presence. I can't even do it justice. I am so in admiration of her. I really like being around her. She's a soft skill that I don't have the words to complete my thoughts. So moving on. So we launched 4 teams at Liberty Creek, and then with Jen Teskey, 5 teams. She added another one. She said, I'll find the money because we wanted to accommodate all the students at her school. 51-ish kids have been served this year, first year out of the gate. The sponsors, local sponsors, T.W. Clark and Bill's Heating and Air were our two top sponsors. Thank you very much. Please do it again this year.
That was a shameless plug. Right?
So shameless.
Right.
So shameless.
But it's true. It's like, people always ask, like, well, how can I help and how can I make a difference in this community? And if I am going to donate money or I'm going to sponsor something, I want it to actually go to something that is making a difference.
Yes.
And I can attest that, like, I've seen these kids and I've talked to some of the kids and what they're getting, and I'm intrigued. Like, I'm like, oh, I wish our daughter missed that deadline. And I was like, oh, how awesome would it be to be a part of that? And so for the sponsorship and donating, it's like, it is a difference because you see these kids light up and their brains, maybe some of the kids that might have focus problems, might have attention to detail, might be bullied, might enjoy books or movies or video games a little bit more. And you're just providing them a platform that they can learn a new skill set, but then maybe they can take off within that. And they never realized that they might actually have a superpower with this.
So Jeff Dean, successful business owner, is one of the two coaches at Ridgeline High School. It started, I think, around the time, maybe 21, 22. They're top 100 out of 7,000 global teams for their level of robotics. And so first, Lego League, it's robotics first and foremost, using Lego as a medium to build. It's under a nonprofit called First Inspires. They've been around, I believe, since the 70s. And so it's a well-established program. I recently wrote a grant where they're like, what is the longevity of this? Are we throwing money at something that's going to fizzle and die like a sad startup? Like, no. You have people, again, I threw my resume all over that. I've managed $1 billion cost portfolio. I've done these 5 programs at a time. I've shamelessly put that out there so they know the confidence, let alone Jen Teskey and Jeff Dean is a successful business owner and PhD in the MIT PhD in the tech world. So really leverage that to say, look, you have the right brains and leadership and care. A very big educator, Alicia Alsacker, and Jen is part of this too. You have the right people behind this, that this is a long-term Liberty Lake successful thing. Jeff's wife is an attorney who did the booster for the high school. She wrote a nonprofit for Liberty Lake Robotics so that we can have our own 501c3.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So donors right now donate to First, which then gives the money to us. It's still tax exempt, tax deductible. But now we can do that directly with Liberty Lake. And so robotics, it's a continuum. Right now, the middle schools don't know it yet, but we have our eyes on Green Acres and Selkirk for next fall.
Cool.
So we'll have second grade all the way through high school, and there's a place for everybody. As Jeff will say, we don't turn anybody away, and it's a place for kids that don't have a place.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And some people it's sports. Some people it's like whatever they're into, but this is just a new platform that not only teaches them like robotics, but coding and obviously playing with Legos, because I can play with some Star Wars Legos, something fierce. Oh, yeah. And it's like you're just providing a whole different platform for these kids to accelerate their lives and make a difference with them.
And the teamwork. So kids that don't think they're social or resist being social, when they're all focused on the robotics and the mission and their brains are getting all happy and the endorphins are going, they start coming together and don't realize they're shoulder to shoulder with everybody else working together. It's really awesome. A great ploy.
Yeah. Well, and you see that.
Oh, yeah.
And not only with your background, but as the parent and as someone who's leading everything, and you see what all the pieces of the puzzle are being put together. And it's like you see these things like sparks fly with these kids, and it must be what a great reward for you.
And let me just add before I forget. We aren't just looking for sponsors, but for coaches, especially retirees or if you're in the tech industry. But you don't need any skills except for working with kids and enjoying giving back. We love having coaches. Coaches, sponsors, you can work harder. Not that we don't appreciate them, but you can work harder and continue to eke out more sponsors. But coaches seem to be either you have them or you don't. So if somebody's interested in being a coach, we would love to have them.
Okay, I love that.
So you don't have to be a parent.
I want to pivot really quickly as we wrap up and basically ask you, like, you talk about mentorship and you have about these leaders and you've been exposed to so many great minds. Do you have a couple mentors that have really changed your life?
Oh, gosh. Oh, my goodness. We need to cut while I have a long, awkward pause here.
Tick tock. Get in your sports car, girl, and take off. Who are some people that have absolutely helped change your life?
Okay, so this one's coming into my head. This isn't a long-term change, but it hit me right between the eyes. It was 2 a.m, sitting in Kuwait with a outgoing 2-star. He was in charge of logistics and theater, so Afghanistan, Iraq. And we were essentially writing his memoir, but technical memoir. Like, this is how things need to operate. These are the best practices. And he saw me kind of go, ugh, like I wasn't quite jiving, like keeping up with him the way that I wanted to. And it's just out of his mouth. He was very high on emotional intelligence and could read just right through people. Maybe a little intense for my taste, but his emotional intelligence was incredible. And just out of his mouth, he said, "You're good enough." And it's like he might as well have slapped me upside the head. I almost got emotional, like this twinge, because it hit me so hard. First of all, he knew what to say, which was he knew exactly what was happening, and he just went, bah. And the other piece was, yeah, I'm good enough. Don't focus on whether you're failing or not. I don't even know what question. Oh, what mentor?
Yeah.
That hit me. I won't ever forget that.
Isn't that funny that somebody's words, the power of words or a quote that can help honestly change the trajectory of your life? And whether that's you self-talk or you hear it from somebody else, it really does. It makes a huge difference. Where you talk about earlier about critical thinking and being emotional intelligence. Right. Is there something that you've read recently, or that you would teach your kids, or that you would tell your past self, like, in order to succeed in life, you need to have X, Y, and Z? Is there something that you try to tell your kids, or that you try to tell the kids that you work with, or even the teams that you work with and the organizations that you work with? Is there some major takeaway that you've learned along your entire journey that you would want people to know?
Yeah, something I didn't realize when I was a kid is it's not about academics and the tangibles. One of the reasons we left the Seattle area is because it's so academically focused. Academics are great, but to the detriment of everything else, not so much. And I feel like this is something you could speak better to than I can, is the intangibles of the people skills, of recognizing opportunities, of putting yourself out there, of just having a good positive attitude, seeing the world pragmatically of this is kind of how humanity operates, and let's rise above that. Let's recognize why somebody's doing what they're doing, see them still as worthwhile human beings, and this is the worst case. And not take it personal. Take ownership for your failures and successes, and don't let it be emotionally stunting. Continue to say, I am good. I am perfect just the way I am.
You're good enough.
Not the delusion, good enough, that's better. Not the delusional perfect, which is good enough.
Yeah.
Just the way I am. I'm not coming from a detriment. I don't have to prove something to the world. I'm working because it feels good, because I want to give back. And that positive glide path will bring the right people. What did you call it? Your
confidence team.
Thank you.
Yes.
It will bring those people around you and propel you forward. It's like greasing the skids. Get some grease instead of just working harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's how you make a race car.
Yeah.
Right. And
some good grease.
One of my karate, or he was an Aikido instructor, and he said, like, a top at its best spins when it's going as fast, but when it slows down, it starts to get wobbly and it's just like you spin. It's most efficient when it goes as fast as possible, and it's like I've always pictured that.
Oh, that's good.
And I've always thought about that. I'm like, okay, am I at the top right now, or am I wobbly, or am I laying on one side? Like, how do I get that thing spinning? Who can help me get faster? Right?
Yeah.
Who can spin it faster than I could? And so that mental note is what I've always taken, that little analogy.
And isn't that funny? You think of a top, and if you have somebody help you spin it, all they have to do is this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Such little movements can make
Hence
such
that
a big
prism
difference.
that you were talking about, the Kaizen.
Yeah,
yes.
little movements.
Look, I think that's awesome. I love it. I love that. Okay, well, where can people find out more about you and more about the Lego, the Robotic Building League? And so how can they connect with you? Because I know that you do that.
Right. really Facebook. It's straightforward. Jacey Harder with an H and a D. If you're interested in Lego, I don't need to send you to an external site. I would love to personally connect with you.
Cool.
So just find me on Facebook. I would love to talk. If I resonate with somebody and you think you want to hear more, you don't have to be cool. You don't have to have a good story. I would love to hear from you. I would love to talk to people. It makes my life better too.
And she's not a spy. So there you go. But I would love that.
That's what I say on record.
Right?
Can I just hold on to that? It'll make me feel good when I'm folding clothes.
She's a spy. She's a spy. And you can connect with her only on Facebook. I love it. Jacey, thank you so much for being on the first podcast you've ever done. And thank you for being a part of my life. And I look forward to all the change that you're going to continue making within our community and above and beyond, because if you're entering into the junior highs and then in the high schools, you're just going to take off. And I cannot wait to see what your next chapter in your life is, because you are somebody that I want to have on my confidence team, and I look up to you. And thank you very, very much for that little quote that you gave me, because that inspired me. And thank you for being a part of that.
Same here, Blue. Thank you.
Thanks. If this episode brings you value, or you know someone who could benefit from it, the best way to support the show is by sharing and subscribing. It's completely free and helps us reach more people. And if you have any questions, feedback, or guests you'd like me to interview, drop a comment while you're there. I'd love to hear from you. And most importantly, thank you for tuning in. And let's continue sharing optimism and positivity.